When installing a subpanel in a detached garage, a key consideration is whether a main disconnect is required. The National Electrical Code, specifically Article 408.3b, mandates a main disconnecting means for all subpanels that contain more than 6 switches or circuit breakers. The purpose of this requirement is to provide a means of safely disconnecting the subpanel from the main service panel in the event of an emergency or for maintenance purposes. If the planned subpanel installation in the detached garage includes more than 6 spaces for circuit breakers, then a main disconnect switch or circuit breaker must be installed at the garage. The location of this main disconnect should be accessible and conveniently located, such as near the main electrical panel within the garage or close to the entrance. This ensures that in an emergency the power to the subpanel can be quickly and easily shut off. The NEC stipulation regarding the number of overcurrent devices within a panel board affects the necessity of a main disconnect. The code reasons that if numerous circuits are present, a single point of disconnection becomes crucial for safety. This requirement primarily addresses safety concerns. A readily accessible disconnect allows for quick de-energization of the subpanel during emergencies like electrical fires or shorts, preventing potential hazards. It also facilitates safe maintenance and repairs by allowing technicians to isolate the subpanel from the main power source, reducing the risk of electrical shock. Accessibility is a critical factor. The disconnect must be placed where it can be easily reached by anyone needing to shut off power to the subpanel. Common locations include immediately adjacent to the subpanel itself or near the entrance to the detached garage. Clear labeling is also important. The disconnect should be clearly marked to indicate that it controls the subpanel, preventing confusion during emergencies. The disconnecting means must be appropriately rated for the voltage and current it is expected to handle. For a 60 amp subpanel, the disconnect must be rated for at least 60 amps at the system voltage. Using an underrated disconnect could result in overheating and failure. The disconnecting means itself can take various forms. A circuit breaker within the subpanel can serve as the main disconnect, provided it meets the accessibility and labeling requirements. Alternatively, a separate disconnect switch can be installed. The choice depends on the specific installation and local electrical codes. Some jurisdictions may have additional requirements beyond the NEC. It is important to consult with local electrical inspectors to ensure compliance with all applicable regulations. Failing to install a required disconnect can result in failed inspections and potential safety hazards. It is a fundamental safety requirement that should not be overlooked. In summary, when installing a subpanel with more than 6 spaces in a detached garage, always include a main disconnect. This ensures the safety of the installation and complies with the National Electrical Code. Remember to choose an appropriately rated disconnect, locate it in an accessible location, and clearly label it. Consulting with a qualified electrician is always recommended to ensure that the installation meets all applicable codes and safety standards. Consider a scenario where a homeowner is expanding the electrical capacity of their detached garage to accommodate a workshop with power tools, lighting, and other equipment. They plan to install a subpanel to distribute power to these new circuits. If the subpanel has more than 6 breaker spaces, a main disconnect is required at the garage. This disconnect allows the homeowner to easily shut off all power to the subpanel in case of an electrical problem or when performing maintenance on the circuits. The disconnect should be located near the subpanel or at the entrance to the garage for easy access. Without this main disconnect, it would be necessary to go back to the main service panel at the house to shut off power to the garage, which could be time-consuming and potentially dangerous in an emergency. This requirement is not just about convenience, it is about safety. Another critical aspect of subpanel installation is proper grounding and bonding. The subpanel must have a separate grounding electrode system, typically consisting of ground rods driven into the earth. This grounding system provides a path for fault current to flow back to the source, tripping the circuit breaker and preventing electrical shock. The subpanel's grounding busbar must be bonded to the metal enclosure of the subpanel. This bonding ensures that all metal parts of the subpanel are at the same electrical potential, further reducing the risk of shock. The grounding conductor from the main service panel must also be connected to the grounding busbar in the subpanel. This conductor provides a connection to the main grounding system of the house. The neutral conductor in the subpanel must be isolated from the grounding busbar. This is different from the main service panel, where the neutral and ground are bonded together. In a subpanel, the neutral and ground must be kept separate to prevent circulating currents and ensure proper operation of ground fault circuit interrupters. Ground fault circuit interrupters, or GFCIs, are essential safety devices that protect against electrical shock. They work by monitoring the current flowing through the circuit and detecting any imbalance between the hot and neutral conductors. If an imbalance is detected, the GFCI quickly trips the circuit, cutting off power and preventing a potentially fatal shock. GFCIs are required in areas where there is a high risk of moisture, such as bathrooms, kitchens, and outdoor locations. In a detached garage, GFCIs should be installed on all receptacles that are within reach of a water source or that are used for outdoor equipment. Arc fault circuit interrupters, or SIs, are another type of safety device that protects against electrical fires. They work by detecting arc faults, which are dangerous electrical discharges that can occur when wires are damaged or connections are loose. SIs quickly trip the circuit when an arc fault is detected, preventing the arc from igniting nearby materials and causing a fire. SIs are typically required on all branch circuits that supply receptacles in bedrooms, living rooms, and other living areas. While not always required in detached garages, SIs are a good idea to provide additional fire protection. When running the feeder conductors from the main service panel to the subpanel, it is important to use the correct size wire. The wire size must be adequate to carry the load of the subpanel without overheating. The National Electrical Code provides tables that specify the allowable ampacity of different wire sizes based on the type of insulation and the ambient temperature. It is also important to consider voltage drop when selecting the wire size. Voltage drop is the decrease in voltage that occurs along the length of the wire due to the wire's resistance. Excessive voltage drop can cause equipment to malfunction and can reduce the efficiency of the electrical system. To minimize voltage drop, it is best to use a larger wire size than what is strictly required for ampacity. The feeder conductors must be protected by an overcurrent device, such as a circuit breaker or fuse, at the main service panel. The size of the overcurrent device must be matched to the ampacity of the feeder conductors. This overcurrent device protects the conductors from overheating and potentially causing a fire in the event of a short circuit or overload. When installing the feeder conductors, it is important to follow all applicable codes and safety standards. The conductors must be properly supported and protected from physical damage. They must also be installed in a raceway, such as conduit or electrical metallic tubing, to provide additional protection and prevent accidental contact. The connections at the main service panel and the subpanel must be made carefully and securely. Loose connections can cause overheating and arcing, which can lead to electrical fires. All connections should be tightened to the manufacturer's specifications. Before energizing the subpanel, it is important to thoroughly inspect the installation to ensure that everything is correct and safe. Check all wiring connections, grounding and bonding connections, and overcurrent protection devices. Use a multimeter to verify that the voltage at the subpanel is correct and that there are no shorts or ground faults. Once you are satisfied that the installation is safe, you can energize the subpanel and begin using the new circuits. Remember that electrical work can be dangerous, and it is always best to consult with a qualified electrician if you are not comfortable performing the work yourself. A qualified electrician can ensure that the installation meets all applicable codes and safety standards and that it is safe for you and your family. Permits may be required for electrical work, so check with your local building department before starting any project. In the context of a detached garage subpanel installation, several specific considerations come into play relating to grounding, conductor sizing, and disconnect requirements. The grounding electrode system for a detached garage must be independent of the main house grounding system. This typically involves driving one or more ground rods into the earth near the garage and connecting them to a grounding busbar within the subpanel. The size of the grounding electrode conductor connecting the ground rods to the subpanel must be appropriately sized based on the size of the feeder conductors. The NEC provides specific tables for determining the minimum size of the grounding electric conductor. When calculating the load on the subpanel, it's essential to consider all potential loads, including lighting, receptacles, and any fixed equipment such as power tools or heaters. The feeder conductors and overcurrent protection for the subpanel must be sized to handle the calculated load. It's always a good idea to overestimate the load slightly to allow for future expansion. The disconnect switch or circuit breaker serving as the main disconnect for the subpanel must be readily accessible. This means it should be located in a place where it can be easily reached in an emergency without having to move obstacles or search for it. The disconnect should also be clearly labeled to indicate that it controls the power to the subpanel. In addition to the general requirements for subpanel installations, there may be specific local codes or regulations that apply in certain areas. It's important to check with your local building department or electrical inspector to ensure compliance with all applicable requirements. Proper planning and execution are crucial for a safe and reliable subpanel installation in a detached garage. This includes selecting the right size subpanel, correctly sizing the conductors and overcurrent protection, and ensuring proper grounding and bonding. By following these guidelines and consulting with a qualified electrician, you can ensure that your subpanel installation is safe, code compliant, and meets your electrical needs for years to come. The location of the detached garage in South Dakota does not significantly alter the NEC requirements, but local climate considerations might influence the choice of materials. For example, using conductors and enclosures rated for cold weather conditions would be prudent. Furthermore, South Dakota's specific electrical codes, if any, should be consulted for any local amendments to the NEC. Remember that the NEC is a minimum standard, and local jurisdictions can adopt more stringent requirements.